everyone, it's Kino here. Welcome to the Encyclopedia of Yoga, where we get to study the yoga poses kind of like we are reading an encyclopedia. Let's start off the session with the sound Om, just to initiate the sacred space of spiritual practice. Close your eyes for a moment and inhale. Let your hands drop down for a moment. Today's class is going to be all about Mukta Hasta Sirsasana A, which is commonly known as the tripod headstand. So for tripod headstand, this is a really important posture for building strength and alignment in your shoulders and also strength and alignment in the center of the body. Mukta Hasta Sirsasana headstands are the unsupported headstand. In the traditional Ashtanga yoga practice, there are 3 variations of the unsupported headstand, and today we'll be covering the tripod version, which is the most popular version of Mukta Hasta Sirsasana, or the unsupported headstand. Now, before we get started with that, let's go over the Sanskrit pronunciation. And I know that many of you watching may not be familiar with the Sanskrit names of the poses, so it's important to take time to really connect the postures that you might know familiarly or colloquially into their traditional root in the lineage of yoga. And so this is the language of yoga is Sanskrit. So we take a few moments and start off there. Now, if you'll just repeat after me, this is a pretty easy one to say. Mukta Hasta Sirsasana. Let's try that all together. Mukta Hasta Sirsasana. One more time. Mukta Hasta Sirsasana. Good. So this unsupported headstand is a relatively easy headstand if you already have a very proficient normal or bound hand headstand position. Traditionally, it's not advised for you to start off with the tripod headstand. It's also not advised traditionally for you to hold the tripod headstand or this unsupported headstand for long periods of time. Traditionally, in the Ashtanga yoga method, the tripod headstand is used for 2 main things. Number 1, it's used as one of the 7 headstands of the intermediate series to build strength, stability, and alignment in the shoulders. And second, it's used as a transition in and out of challenging arm balances in the more advanced 3rd, 4th, and maybe also the 5th series. So this is not a headstand really to be taken lightly. However, the ironic thing is many people who are stronger actually find the tripod headstand easier than the regular bound hand headstand position. The main reason for this will be flexibility. Tripod headstand will feel easier for you if your shoulders are real strong but not so open. I would advise you in that case to focus more on opening your shoulders and less on arm balances as you begin the journey into your headstand. So let's take a few moments and just remember where the position of your head wants to be. In all headstands, you want to find the center line alignment. So that means that your head is stacked over your chest, and your chest is stacked over your pelvis or that lower section of your body, and everything follows one line. If you destabilize the center line at all, so if you jut your head forward, jut your head back, or you push your butt out, you push your ribs out, your muscles have to hold your body and you'll be expending a lot of energy unnecessarily. So the ideal alignment is to find the center line, the plumb line, or the gravitational axis of the body around which your skeletal structure is naturally balanced. One of the easiest ways to do that is to place your hand on the very top of your head. This is the place where you're going to find the flattest part of your head. And if you apply pressure at the top of your head, you should feel that there's a natural up. And if you take one hand and place it on your neck, you should notice there's no tension in your neck muscles. But if you change the position and place your hand on the front of your forehead and press up, you'll notice that your neck muscles tense. This is not the place to do your tripod headstand or any headstand. Same thing at the back. If you push at the back, your neck contracts and you'll find that your neck muscles really start to activate. Let's actually test that out by grabbing a wedge or a yoga block or a book and place it on the top of your head. Test it out. Check out your neck. Ooh. If everybody's happy, you found the center line. Okay, then grab hold of that and we're going to work on the shoulder alignment. Be very conscious of the center line and make sure that you're not opening the chest or rounding the back and slunching down. And then find that center line, draw the belly in, and then let's place the wedge right out in front. And since this is a tripod position, it's very important that your hands, your elbows, and your shoulders follow the same line. So we'll be doing this with the block or the wedge raised right above your head, and then gently and calmly, to really activate the strength of your shoulder girdle, draw the elbows a little bit towards each other. And we'll hold this position for 5 breaths to make sure that you're nice and warmed up for your tripod headstand. So let's count to 5. 1, belly sucks in. 2, and you want to think about your shoulder blades spreading away from each other and the belly drawing as deeply in as possible. At the same time, drawing your elbows closer together, and even though they're going closer together than the center line, this is helping you get the strength and the alignment that you'll later apply in that Mukta Hasta Sirsasana 8 position. Now, inhale, let's raise the block above your head, and then exhale, bring it down. We're going to do that 4 more times. Inhale, raise it up, exhale down. Inhale, rise it up, and exhale down. And when you're doing this, really feel your body. So feel the shoulder blades articulate as the arms raise. Feel the shoulder blades articulate as you come to the center line. Don't hit it too hard. Don't be afraid to work, but move smoothly. Move with grace and precision. Let's do that just one more time. Lowering down all the way up. And then last one, we're going to hold it down again for 5. You may feel your shoulders potentially burning a little bit. Do not be afraid of that. 2, draw the belly in. 3, draw the shoulder blades down the back and start to activate the muscles around the bottom of your shoulder blades. 3, keep breathing and keep the belly sucked in. 4, and 5. Let's straighten out the arms. Drop your block, your wedge down, and place it off to the side. And now, nice and easy, we're going to start working the top of the head, okay? So what I'd like you to do now is come onto your hands and knees, and then as you're coming down onto your hands and knees, let's see if it's possible to create a tripod shape, okay? One of the biggest things that happens when we're working on a tripod headstand is we don't actually make an equilateral triangle with the base of the headstand. So placing your hands shoulder width apart, I want you to just draw a triangle on your mat, okay? Draw a triangle on your mat. And then at the top of the triangle, that is where the very top of your head is going to go. So a lot of people, when they begin to do tripod headstand, will make a mistake like this and put the head down between the hands. If you want to put the head forward of your hands, we're going to do now some tripod push-ups just to really acclimate yourself to where your head's going to go. So let's walk those knees a little bit in, round your back, top of the head down, inhale, and then as you go forward, make sure that your elbows stay over the palms, so don't put the elbows back, but keep the elbows over the palms and then lean forward, 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 top of the head down. Squeeze the elbows in, avoid winging the elbows out. You can let your feet come up for a moment and then inhale, take it back up. We're gonna do that whole movement 5 more times. Inhale, round your back, belly in, exhale, down. Squeeze the elbows, inhale, big push, up. 4 more times. Inhale, exhale, down. Inhale, take it up. 3 more times. Exhale, down. Inhale, take it up. Let's do that 2 more times. Exhale, down. Inhale, take it up. Okay, let's do last one. Inhale, and exhale, down. Let's hold it for 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, take it up. Good, pause. Come on, sit back for a moment and shake out the shoulders. Shake out the hands. Now, to begin our journey into the tripod headstand, you have to learn how to stabilize the shoulders while beginning to take the weight of your legs and your body and lift up into the center line. So the first position we're gonna do is the tripod egg. I'd like to see if we can just make a regular egg first. So it's not a scrambled egg, we're not making omelets, it's just the shape of your body pulled all into the center, okay? I actually don't even really like omelets, so that was kind of a gross analogy. So now bring your knees into your chest. I actually don't eat eggs anymore, so it'd have to be some sort of vegan omelet. So now we have the knees drawn onto the triceps, and now we have sort of like a floating version of the tripod egg, all right? So we have a little egg here, a nice little vegan egg floating on the arms, and we're gonna hold that for 5 breaths. 1, belly sucks deeply in. 2, and you can straighten the arms just for ease, but make sure your placement is above the elbows. 4, and then knees together, so you're floating the egg, and we'll stay for another 5. 1, 2, 3, keep the belly in. 4, and let's just place the knees again back on the triceps. And again, just test it out. So here's your tripod egg shape. Hold it. 2, straighten the arms for ease. 3, 4, How you doing? My abs are starting to get turned on for today, which I'm kind of really enjoying. And 5. All right, let's let that go. You can shake it out. Now, let's talk about where you would want to feel this. You do not want to be trying to hold your body up from your hip flexors. In fact, don't try to lift your hips with your hip flexors. That's gonna get you kind of out of the innermost alignment. In fact, you're gonna be hitting it maybe a little bit too hard and using an exterior muscle. So the ideal way to come up into your tripod headstand is to find your bandhas, that deep activation of the low belly. If you guys haven't watched my bandha class on my primary series course, you should go back and reference that to really find the inner space of the pelvic bowl. Let's go ahead and access that right now as we move into our tripod egg. Okay, here we go. And take the hands down. Remember your equilateral triangle. Inhale and exhale, top of the head down. Now, stand your legs up and walk. Walk in. If it's too tight for your hamstrings, you can bend your knees a little. Wrap the elbows in and make sure you're in a nice tripod. Press. So when you press, you got to keep the shoulders back, spreading away from each other, and push into the ground. Then, sucking in the low belly, send your hips forward and up, coming up onto your toes. Bend one knee, place it up on the shelf of your tricep. Try not to sink it, but really keep a sense of up. And then bend the other knee, place it on the shelf of the triceps. And again, try not to sink it, but press and squeeze. Let's hold it for 5 breaths. 1, 2, you gotta squeeze your body along the center line, so belly in. 3, wrap the elbows in. Look at your elbows, make sure they're not winging out, keep them in. 4, and only if you feel comfortable in your tripod egg, so if your egg is not having a good foundation, you don't wanna break the egg, no cracked eggs, okay? Now, only if you feel stable, press into the shoulders and then inhale, send the hips forward, knees together. Float your tripod egg. Stay for another 5 breaths. 1, keep the belly in, elbows spiral towards each other. 2, 3, 4. Ask yourself if you feel comfortable. If you don't feel comfortable, you're gonna come back down. But if you feel all right, then slowly tune into where your hips are and send the hips just a little bit more forward. Then open the knees and open the front of the hip joint as you find your way up into the vertical axis. Then scan through the body, starting off with your toes, and say, hey, my toes, how you doing? Point the feet. Press the bases of the big toes into each other. Follow the line through the shin bones, through the knees, through the thighs. Belly sucks in. Then tuck the tailbone a little bit. Open the front of the hip, belly in. Pull the ribs in. Activate the transverse abdominals. Open the shoulders, so spread the shoulders away from each other and press with your shoulder girdle into the ground. Then exhale, let's bend the knees into the chest. Then open the knees back to the tripod shape. Let's come down the same way we came into it. And then let's just walk the hands back. And then slowly take an easy child's pose for a moment. Nice breath in. Nice breath out. And let's come all the way back up. Okay, that was the first tripod headstand. So Mukta Hasta Sirsasana A is not that intimidating if you start off with the basic building blocks, but let's see if we can find the full entry into tripod headstand. So the full and more traditional entry into the tripod headstand does not take you through the tripod egg. You want to think about the tripod egg a little bit like a training wheel. If you're not comfortable in the tripod egg, don't progress further. One of the reasons why I haven't talked about falling out of the tripod headstand is by this point in the traditional Ashtanga yoga method, which is what I practice and teach, it's not really advised to kind of be rolling out of a tripod position. You're really meant to be able to find and maintain the center line. And the best way to come out if you feel your balance isn't so great is to just come back down the way that you came out of the pose. If you absolutely need to, if you're gonna fall forward, you have to make sure that your neck doesn't do any little bobble. When you're rolling out of the bound hand headstand positions, your arms help your neck stay in alignment. So be very, very conscious of that if you start to lose your balance. Okay, let's go for that full tripod position now. Now, could I do this pose the first time I tried? Absolutely not. It took me almost a year to balance in the regular plain old headstand, the one that we do in the closing poses, the one that's the most traditional one. When I first tried the tripod headstand, my arms were so sore, it didn't even make it all the way up, and I bobbled. It took me a little while before I could get all the way up. So be very patient with yourself. Be very kind and never hit it too hard. Don't hit your body too hard. Just move with ease and flow. And patience. Patience is a really big tool. If you have, cultivating patience. Patience is a learned and a sort of acquired behavior. It wasn't natural for me, but years of practice have really helped me develop it. All right, so here we go. Find that point forward. Point the top of the head down, and then exhale, top of the head down. Okay, here we go. Wrap the elbows in, inhale, stand up. Walk, walk, walk. Okay, stay here for a moment, okay? Now breathe, calm, relax your mind. Scan through the body and think about the hips. Feel where your hips are. Give them a little wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. There are my hips. Then belly sucks in. So remember, you're not squeezing with the front of the hip. You're rolling through the inner body. Check. Make sure you maintain that tripod shape. Elbows spiral in. However much you think you're going to squeeze the elbows in, generally, everybody can almost bring the elbows a little bit more narrow. Okay? Now, roll the hips forward and allow the flexibility of your forward bend to pull the thighs close to the body. Belly sucks in, now start to press. Then exhale, and exhale completely. At the bottom of the exhale, then engage your pelvic floor and send the hips forward. Try not to jump, just send the hips forward. Reach that halfway point where your hips are beyond the vertical axis. Maintain the strength of the shoulders. Keep the mind calm, keep the gaze forward on your mat. The traditional gaze is at your nose, but right now let's just look at a point on the mat, and then slowly begin to tuck your tailbone in unison as you open the front of the hip, keeping the bases of the big toes pointed into each other. Now, we're gonna work alignment. So now lift the legs up. Now lift the legs up. Lift the kneecaps, so pull the kneecaps into the quadriceps, squeeze your legs a little into each other, and now, to really get the center line, you're gonna squeeze a little bit the butt, just a little, not like, just a little, okay? Then, tuck the tailbone ever so slightly, activate the transverse abdominals, pull the ribs in, and push from the shoulders. We'll stay for 5 breaths. 1. If you didn't make it up, you can just stay in the prepare position, or go back to the egg. 2. 3, 4, and 5. Exhale, suck the belly in, pivot the heads of the femurs into their sockets, and roll through the hip joints as you rotate the pelvis under. Point the feet down, and let's walk and slowly child's pose for a moment. And then let's come all the way back up. Okay? Alrighty. So if you notice that when you come up out of your headstand, you feel like, woo, the world's dizzy, it's almost like you're a little bit high, then you know that you never need to get high again, because yoga is a natural high. I'm just kidding. Well, I'm actually not kidding. That's actually true. But I mean to say that you want to make sure you coordinate your breath with your movement, all right? And then that will help equalize your breath and your sense of spatial orientation. And anyhow, you'll still keep that inner glow that's the yoga practice high anyway. Last thing we're going to do with tripod headstand for today is jumping out of the pose. The traditional exit from tripod headstand is not to come down and to rest in child's pose, but it's to jump all the way back to Chaturanga Dandasana. Okay, so you need to have a good Chaturanga Dandasana, a good sense of strength in your shoulders before you try this. If you don't have that, I don't recommend you jump back from the pose. We're going to jump back from 2 variations, so no matter your level, you'll have something to work with. Okay, let's give it a try. First, from the tripod egg position. Now, let's set up. Make sure that you have the space on your mat to jump back. I don't really like to land off of my mat when I'm working on these powerful jump backs, okay? So exhale, top of the head down, wrap the elbows in, inhale up, walk, 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 wrap it, all right? So wrap your elbows like a present, tie a bow on it with the strength of the inner body, and then one knee up, the other knee up, and hold it. Nice and steady, hold it. And then the egg. Inhale. Okay, this was a faith moment. Say to yourself, I believe I'm not going to die. Open your toes, so prepare for chaturanga. Inhale. And then you're going to roll the hips back as you press the shoulders. Tighten the core. Inhale. Exhale. Chaturanga. Inhale. Easy upward facing. Say hello, upward facing. Exhale, downward facing. Okay, let's come to the knees and let's do it again. This is more of a faith movement than anything else. Like if you can do chaturanga and you can do the tripod, even the tripod egg, putting those two together, This is more mental than it is physical. So there's a moment when you just gotta believe, you just gotta say, yes, I can do this. Even if everything in you is like, no, I'm gonna die. It's an exercise in faith and surrender. Let's up the ante a little bit and do it from the full straight legs tripod headstand. Okay, here we go. Inhale, exhale, top of the head down. Roll it up, so find that roll through the pelvis, gliding to come up. Inhale, and now exhale halfway. We're gonna take an extra breath, prepare your toes. Inhale, feel where your hips are oriented in space and engage your transverse abdominals and your serratus anterior. Pull the ribs in, inhale. Exhale, push as you jump back, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing, exhale, downward facing. Let's look forward, come on back to seated, and just chill for a moment. Okay, an exercise in faith is such a good thing in the yoga practice because you learn that even when you feel afraid, it is possible to do it anyway. I'm not saying that, we should go over all fears, but there are some fears that are just mental. So you got to do a little checklist. Can I do tripod headstand? Yes. Can I do chaturanga dandasana? Yes. Can I jump back yet? If your answer is no, you know that it's just mental. And the process of going through that, confronting your fear and choosing faith over fear will make you a stronger person. Okay? Now, the last thing that we can take a look at, I know I said that the jump back was the last thing, but the very, very most ultimate last thing that we're gonna look at is how to use the tripod headstand as a transition towards another pose. And then you'll have sort of the full rounded approach to really work with this pose in your practice. We're gonna do this nice and easy from Bakasana. If you aren't familiar with Bakasana, the crane pose, then watch my other video on the Encyclopedia of Yoga series on Bakasana, and you can check out how to work with that. Okay, so here we go for Bakasana. Now, inhale, and then as you exhale, top of the head down. Let's only approach this if you can either do the egg entry or if you can do the straight leg entry. So let's come all the way up. Okay, now exhale like you're gonna land in the egg. So here we are with the egg. Okay, now the trick to using tripod headstand as a transition for any pose is not to keep your pelvis up. You got to sink your pelvis. So you allow yourself to sink, all right? So if you try to come up from here, it's very hard, all right? It's almost like trying to take off and lift a rocket ship into outer space. So now you're gonna use the dynamic of your knees shift a little forward while your hips shift a little bit back. Then press from the shoulders, widen the knees a little bit, engage your core, and then slowly, just a little bit up. Just go mini up. After you have the balance, then you shift the chest forward and then push it up into the pose. Then you can widen the knees again, bend the elbows, tuck your head in, squeeze the elbows in, and hips forward and up, find the vertical line. So that may not have happened so easily, but that's the basic principle. Let's try to jump back. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing. See how I was almost off the mat? I didn't check the distance good enough. So now you gotta check your distance every time, all right? Then just glide it forward and let's come on to seated. Okay, so shake out the shoulders for a moment. Tripod headstand is one of the most important poses for creating calm, equanimity in the mind. Traditionally, the Mukta Hasta Sirsasana, the unsupported headstand, comes again as part of the 7 headstands that are at the end of the intermediate series in the Ashtanga Yoga method. These 7 headstands, when taken together, represent a deep turning inward of the mind. Tripod headstand is both a test and a practice of strength, stamina, equanimity, and really a sense of calm and inner peace. When you begin to feel confident in tripod headstand, your mind will reach a sense of calm, a sense of tranquility, and you'll be able to have a little bit more faith in yourself. It's almost like, well, hey, if I can go all the way up there and I can jump all the way back, what else can I do? What other dreams can I accomplish? What other mountains that I stand at the bottom of can I look up and reach the top of? So take that confidence, that faith that you get from your practice, and transform your whole life. Bring your hands together, inhale. Thank you so much for letting me be your guide into the inner tradition of yoga. Namaste.